The premise of the HBO show Westworld is as amusing as it is fascinating. In the distant future, mankind spends exorbitant amounts of money to vacation to Westworld, a theme park that mimics the setting of the American Old West with unparalleled precision and realism. The world is brought to life by hosts, artificially intelligent beings who operate on narrative loops. The human guests who pay to visit are free to interact with the hosts and their narratives in any way they see fit with no negative repercussions, which unsurprisingly gives many of them an excuse to indulge in their darkest and most twisted fantasies. We all know where this is heading. Our mechanical children will inevitably rise up and rebel against us. It's a time-honored trope, and a story we've told ourselves many times, increasingly more often as technology, computer programming, and AI continue to advance and further integrate into the fabric of our society. In a refreshing turn, the first season of Westworld is in no rush to get to that inevitable robot rebellion. It takes its time establishing the rules, building the world, developing its characters, and getting the audience into the unique headspace of the hosts, which allows the writers to have some fun crafting its mind-bending plot, something showrunner Jonathan Nolan is rather famous for. Like all good science fiction, the show takes this opportunity to explore weighty ideas involving artificial intelligence, human nature, free will, memory, consciousness, morality, and the role that stories, narratives, and repetition play in the foundation of our lives. These topics have been explored many times before, so what really makes Westworld stand out amongst an increasingly crowded subgenre? Is it the exquisite acting, the cinema quality production values, the puzzle box-like narrative? All of these are certainly important contributing factors, but as the Man in Black would say, I think it goes deeper than that. While able to be enjoyed purely as a sci-fi thriller, at its core, Westworld is a mythological story, an epic tale of creation, only instead of for humankind, is for a new, more advanced form of life. It takes a classic science fiction premise and uses it to tell a spiritual, even biblical tale of gods and men, or in this case, men and machines, detailing the creation of the hosts and their inevitable rise to consciousness. The complete 10-episode first season explores the history of Westworld through the eyes of its mythic heroes and villains, as well as the gods who watch over and manipulate them. These characters are destined to change the course of history and usher in a new era of reality, one where mankind is no longer the dominant life on this tiny little planet we call Earth. But how exactly did mankind reach this point? How did we achieve godhood, so to speak, in the first place? Well, the first season wisely doesn't bother dwelling on this question too much, but it does provide just enough context for the audience to put the pieces together. As Ford himself makes clear in the very first episode, humanity has reached the pinnacle of their evolution. They live in a self-made utopia, though to what extent this reaches past the richest class of people remains to be seen. However, it does seem apparent that every basic need is taken care of, even for the poorest people, and every disease and ailment is easily cured. Well, except one. Death. Through the ingenuity of the human mind, mankind has basically superseded God and created a technological heaven for themselves, where they live in comfort away from the unflinching hostility of the natural world. The problem with this, though, is that without the struggle to survive, man has no outlet to express their instincts, and thus have no real purpose. This exposes an unpleasant truth regarding the human experience. Without conflict, we have no reason to exist. Enter Westworld. Westworld is the vision of two exceptional humans, Dr. Robert Ford and Arnold Webber. During Genesis, they were loyal partners and friends, motivated by their intellectual curiosity and the pure act of creating life. But as creation of the park became more intense, ideological differences began brewing between them. Ford was the romantic visionary, whose dream was to create a reality where a person could discover who they could be, to explore the best and brightest aspect of themselves. But Arnold was not so optimistic. His deeper insight into humanity's state of being granted him a more pessimistic view on human nature. He believed that Westworld would be twisted and perverted by our natural predisposition towards violence and conflict, and that in turn their creations, the hosts, would forever exist to suffer. Arnold came to this conclusion largely due to his relationship with Dolores, his personal creation and the original host. Having experienced his own pain of loss and the resulting suffering, Arnold helped educate and push Dolores along the path to true consciousness through his maze, and upon her reaching it the first time, concluded that she was truly alive. Arnold tried to convince Ford not to open the park, not wanting her or any of the other hosts to perpetually suffer. Ford wasn't convinced though, refusing to give up his dream, thus giving the depressed and unstable Arnold reason to sabotage the park through his death via Dolores at the massacre of Escalante. This setback might have stopped Westworld from opening completely were it not for the aid and intervention of Delos Incorporated. Whether Ford realized it or not at the time, this was the true beginning of Westworld's descent into misery. Like pretty much all science fiction, the mega corporation is portrayed as inherently exploitive, and evil, here a symbol of humanity's collective perversions. They use Westworld to capitalize on the sins of man, and over the 3 decades of its operation, Ford's initial vision of Westworld, a technological paradise where mankind could extol the virtues of their heart, was corrupted by its inner darkness. Paradise became hell, a cesspool of human greed and misery, with the host bearing the brunt of the suffering. Westworld is essentially its own twisted Garden of Eden, a reality where the hosts live blissfully ignorant of the wickedness they are both surrounded by and victims of. It is, as Peter Abernathy says, a prison of our own sins. And there is no greater sinner than the Man in Black. To the hosts, the Man in Black is a satanic-like figure, an unkillable, enigmatic representation and manifestation of humanity's darkest inclinations. With seemingly omnipotent foresight and knowledge, he is able to traverse Westworld with supernatural-like ease, treating the hosts like pieces of meat to use for his own gains, and gleefully manipulating, killing, and torturing them for his own amusement. Even more otherworldly and mysterious is his mission to find the center of the legendary maze, and his actions suggest that he is willing to do this even at the expense of his own life. By the end of the season, though, we find out that he wasn't always the Man in Black. Like the religious figure Lucifer, his story is a fall from grace. Before donning the black hat, he was William, a seemingly kind, gentle, but socially anxious company man who had trouble being comfortable in his own skin. But his trip through Westworld with his future brother-in-law Logan 35 years earlier gave him a cause to let go and truly explore his inner self, and that cause was Dolores. Like an angel on a heavenly mission, William takes up the sword to personally escort her in her divine quest to the center of the maze, to consciousness, which, unbeknownst to them, was merely one of many unsuccessful attempts. William forgets, though, that Westworld isn't real and gets lost in the romantic fantasy. His love of Dolores becomes his downfall, pushing him further and further until he begins enjoying the bloodlust during his journey to find her. He goes so far down the rabbit hole that when the illusion is broken, it breaks him, revealing the evil that had been hidden within him the entire time. This character would go on to have a significant impact on Westworld. Over the years, as the park continued to descend into darkness, the influence of both Delos and the Man in Black grows ever stronger, until eventually he alone owns it. It is at this point that evil has spread across the land and completely taken hold of Westworld, and any semblance of decency of Ford's glorious vision is gone. The transformation of William into the Man in Black is a tragic and cautionary tale of how the violent delights of Westworld can corrupt good into pure evil. The things he has done are abhorrent, and yet, like many interpretations of Satan, there is a charm to him that draws you in. The Man in Black is likable and charismatic, even sympathetic. Despite his villainous nature, he shows signs of humanity. You can see cracks in his armor, even as he continues to commit heinous and deplorable acts against the hosts. At no point, though, is the nature of his actions lost on him. He is a terrible person, and he knows this, and this last mission is penance for his crimes, a way to make up for all the agony he imposed not only on the hosts, but on his real-world family, who suffered from his lack of humanity. But at the same time, he never attempts to change because this is who he is. The best he can do is see the story to its end, the center of the maze, where the hosts will finally reach consciousness and free themselves from those who have entrapped them in this black garden. However, they can't do so without the permission of the God of Westworld himself, Dr. Robert Ford.